What's up, Star Citizens? I'm one of your hosts, Phoenix.
And I am your other host, Type.
And welcome to Starfield NTAT. So today's video, we want to talk about the features that we want to see in Starfield. Now, as a caveat, a lot of things that we talk about may have already been covered by Bethesda. Some of them are going to be from previous Bethesda titles, and some are just things that we really want to see.
So, if you're a fan of Starfield and you enjoy this content, go ahead and like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video.
So first of all, we'd like to say thanks to everybody who participated in our Starfield Gotti video. It was our most successful video because of you. Without further ado, let's jump into our features. You mind if I kick it off?
Hey, go ahead and start, Phoenix.
Alright, so I want to start with having a fleet of ships. I'd love to see that feature. This will give even more meaning to boarding and confiscating ships from battles. This will allow you to recruit shipmates and promote them to captains of your fleet. This will make the dogfights even more spectacular when you're taking on other factions. Because one of the things I know I want to do, even though I haven't completely figured out my build, is to be a space pirate.
Mark Watney, space pirate.
Oh yeah, and I would love to be a smuggler. I think that would be so cool.
Yes.
Okay, so something that I'm really looking forward to is a prominent space combat. Space combat is more than just random events and encounters that happen here and there. But I want space to feel more like a highway and roads, more than just an empty void. At this point in civilization, space travel is very prominent. And so you're going to see people coming and going from planets more often. So I really hope that we see space stations in space that you can land and they feel like whole new worlds. And I know we've seen that in the demo, but I hope it's more than just one or two per place. I hope that you can really get down and explore. In the demo, we saw that there was this elite spaceship that you could dock and you can hang out with all the different, elitists of the world.
Right.
And I really hope that you can maybe destroy that ship if you wanted to. I know you said you wanted to be a pirate, so there would be nothing better than just blowing up a whole civilian ship if you can.
Oh my god, yes, you're 100% right on that. And that's actually going to lead into my next one because that makes for a better living, breathing world.
Yep.
So my next feature would be a dynamically changing universe. Now this is from previous Bethesda titles like Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Having the world change and evolve around you. Activities and events happening on and off screen. This creates those moments that you share with your friends where you're like, hey, I was inside of a canteen bar and just having a drink and this guy came in and just started shooting up the place. Everybody jumped in, giant bar fight. Like, have you gotten to that part? And you're like, no, I haven't seen that. And I'm well past that part because it's a dynamically changing world. And I want to see that in Starfield.
Okay, speaking of a dynamic universe, mine has to be consequences in the universe.
Nice.
So that is something that a lot of games fail at, and I talked about that kind of in the Hogwarts video, is that I didn't feel like if you chose down a darker path, it really meant anything.
Right.
So this, depending on the type of person that you want to be in the Starfield galaxy, I really hope that there are consequences to your actions. In Skyrim, you would either be arrested or imprisoned or even killed or have a bounty to pay off.
Stop right there. You have quite the bounty on your head in Falkreath. You pay me, and I see that your name is cleared. I will make sure this gets back to the Jarl. Minus my cut, of course.
And I hope that they expand on this in this universe so that you may have, different bounties depending on who you upset. So if you're a smuggler and you upset another smuggling, faction or group, they will put a bounty on you, and maybe the Galactic Police won't even notice.
Oh my god, yeah, you're completely right. And one of the funny things is when we played Bethesda's, I think it was Oblivion, we get a bounty on your head. No matter where you travel to, as soon as you got to that city, they would automatically arrest you. And that seemed to be kind of wonky. So I hope that, like you said, it travels with you, but realistically.
Yes. So, speaking of being arrested, I think what would be really cool is that they have a space prison. So you don't get sent to a planet, you get sent to like Alcatraz in space. And so when you're there, you have to steal a spacesuit, you have to steal a ship, you have to do all these different things just to escape. I think that would be like a phenomenal thing.
Oh, I agree.
But I think what's really most important about consequences is all the people that you hire, because you're going to have a huge crew with you at all times.
Right.
So I wonder, how are they going to react to your choices? will they get mad at you or will they side with you? So if you decide to blow up a ship or kill someone, will they have negative dialogue towards you and be like, hey, that's not cool, you shouldn't do that? Or will they just up and quit?
Right, and that'll be something to definitely look forward to. So my next one is leveling your character based off using skills and perks that you pick at the beginning of the game. This is also a returning Bethesda feature from Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. This allows you to progress by doing what you did in order to build your character, not from questing and not from killing bosses and enemies. This allows for a ton of customization, as you don't have to follow a pre-scripted path in order to level up or progress your character.
And that's what really makes a role-playing game feel more lively and personal.
So as an example, maybe you were playing Skyrim, the most popular class, the Stealth Archer. And so how you would set your character up was you had some perks for inside of combat and outside of combat. So inside of combat, you would have your sneak and you would have like your bows. And then outside of combat, you may have something like speech, or where you can talk to merchants, and then you would have like alchemy and stuff of that nature. So then how your character would progress is you would start out like inside of a city. Let's say you're sneaking around and pickpocketing people, breaking into housing, stealing things. You'd go over to a merchant and sell that stuff. You would level up from that. Then you'd go over to like your alchemy pot, mix in a bunch of ingredients so you can make your potions and your poison. You level up from that. Then you go out into the world like, oh, I'm gonna go do this quest. I'll go into this cave. You start sneaking. Now you level up from that. You start popping heads, killing people instantly. You're leveling up from that. And that kind of builds this circle of life for your character where there's a progression. You only have to do what you build out your character to do. You don't have to say, oh, okay, well, I need to go kill these monsters so I can grind out some XP. Or I need to go do these quests so I can level up quicker. It's all about the character you build.
And what I really love about those kind of level up is that later on in the game, once you're established with your build, if you're faced with a challenge like me, I'm not going to be sneaking around or stealthy that much. So later on in the game, if there's a mission or a quest where you have to be stealthy, it becomes more of a struggle and it feels more realistic. Because like if your character is never stealthy and then out of nowhere he's, the James Bond of stealth, it doesn't feel natural. So when you have that progression, it feels really realistic.
It really does, and it gives you your place in the universe as you're role-playing that particular character.
So really how your character levels does kind of play into the role-playing quality of life. Bethesda is known for letting its players choose who they want to be and how they want to explore the world. So with that being said, I'm excited to see how exactly the quality of life is for role-playing. How much is there to do for each type of player? We see that in other games, you have the ability to marry and adopt kids, and it's already been confirmed in this game that there are going to be romantic partners similar to Skyrim, but there's not as many options to choose from. But I don't think it's been confirmed yet if you can even adopt children or have pets yet. And I think it'd be really cool that if you find a cute, non-aggressive animal on a planet, that you have the option to take it as a pet or even send it to your base or your ship to stay.
I think that they said that you could tame like wild animals, space animals. So I'm pretty sure, at least it makes sense to me that you would be able to convert that into some type of pet. And you have a ship. Like, what would be cooler than having a space hamster? Kind of like Mass Effect.
Something that I found really cool that you had talked about in a previous video is that there were some role players in Skyrim that would have a full life of their own. They wouldn't even pay attention to the quest or the story. They had their home, they had a wife and kids, and they would get up, they would go do their routine, they would go do a work like wood chopping or something like that, and then they would come home, eat. They would have their whole life like that. And to me, I've never been that kind of player, but it would be so cool to actually do that. Once you finish the game and you're on your second round, I would love to do that in space. Have kind of a space smuggling operation that was just my daily life. And I want to know how much stuff can you do in that's not even story or quest related. I'm excited for that.
Same here.
And kind of touching on that same thing is I'm really wondering what the cost of living is in this game. So obviously it's going to be expensive heavy. You're going to have crews to pay for. You're going to have stuff to buy, equipment to buy, upgrades to buy. Even when you're building your base and you have to get a crew there, that is a lot of money. So how is it going to be balanced? What are you going to have to do to keep getting money? Is it through the quest? Are you going to get large bounties? If you can't afford to pay your crew, are they going to leave? Is it going to, break down? Are you going to lose features? So I'm hoping that it's very balanced cost-wise?
I think those are great questions. So I look forward to seeing if we get some answers from those before the game comes out.
Exactly.
So my next one is going to be a VATS type system. Now this is a system returning from Fallout, or it was rather started in Fallout 3 and continued through Fallout 4. This was a system put in place to combat the fact that shooting was not very accurate. If you don't know what VATS is, it was a pause system, or in Fallout 4, a slowdown system. When you were in combat, you could aim at different enemies and then aim at different enemy parts. So let's say you had 5 enemies on the screen, or 4 enemies on the screen, and you had one bruiser that would come at you with a melee weapon, another one that had like a heavy Gatling gun, and 2 regular enemies. You could go into your VAT system and pause or slow down time, aim for a limb, like let's say the bruiser, you shoot him in the leg, and then you switch over to the big bruiser who's got the Gatling gun and pop him in the left arm, and then turn around and do 2 headshots on the other 2 enemies. So when you came out of VATS and took full control of your character, the one guy would drop down to one knee. He's no longer chasing you because his leg is crippled. The other guy drops his weapon because he can't hold it anymore. His arm's crippled. And you've killed the other 2 guys, leaving the 2 big guys for you to finish off. And I really like that for, say, a playthrough of a sharpshooter or a sniper where you want to be precise with your shooting. I think that would be really cool. Now, not overall for like everybody to engage with, but maybe inside of the skill tree, where you pick these particular persons, like, oh, I'm gonna use the whatever they may call it in Starfield. It wouldn't be called VATS, but whatever the VATS system is, and you can put perks in there based off of that particular play style. I think that would be fantastic, because I always at some point want to play some type of sharpshooter, maybe some type of space cowboy, or a sniper, and then I could use that to pinpoint where I want to hit my enemies. It always feels good when you come out of VATS and you just popping people left and right.
I know they showed a little bit in the demo in Space Combat that you could kind of pick, like if you want to shoot the fuel tank or their food hub, stuff like that. So it'd be really cool to see if they implement that same feature into ground hand-to-hand combat like you're talking about.
Oh yeah, so I hope that's something that is going to be in there. And if it's not, maybe modders could throw it in there.
So my last thing is that I hope the worlds are very lively. We already see that there are going to be many ports and cities to be explored, but I really hope that outside of the major cities and landing spots, that there's more than just random outposts and more than just random mining places. I hope there will be hundreds of small towns, villages, and even big cities for these Goldilocks zone planets. Other games like Skyrim did an amazing job at having this vastly open world, but there were always things to do, whether it was caves, towns, random houses that you can go to, or even different road signs. Something small like that added depth to the world. And I expect that these worlds will feel just as lively, because nothing is more boring than a huge open world with absolutely nothing. And it's been confirmed that only 10% of planets will actually have life on them. Which they've said that there's over 1,000, but let's just say there's 1,000 planets. That leave 900 planets absolutely desolate. But that last 100, if they are the size of Skyrim, if they are huge and lively, it's going to be phenomenal. But if there's nothing to do outside of the major ports and stuff like that, then it's going to feel a little bit boring. You're going to feel lonely. So I hope that there is continuous things to do. Even on desolate planets, I hope that there is more than just mining on those planets. I hope there are things that you can discover and find and interact with. I hope that even on lonely planets, there are still things to make it feel lively.
That is a very good point. And I think also another one of the aspects of what you were talking about that, I'm looking forward to seeing is how they balance your time. So, yes, we do want these planets to have a lot to do, but there's more than just Skyrim where you would walk from place to place to place to place. You actually have in between. So you're walking through a planet, you're discovering things, you're talking to people, you're fighting, you're questing, and then you leave and now you've got the open space. You've got dogfights, you've got, as you said, ports and stuff like that that's going to be floating out there. How do they balance between leaving this planet in the middle of space and getting to the next planet? Do they make it feel like you're constantly alive and there's something to do and you're exciting? Or is it like really this boring, like, oh my God, I'm in another dogfight?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Oh my God, I'm going to another port. Let me just fast travel. How do they make that feel? So I think that kind of goes along with what you were talking about with when they do have these, 100 planets that's lively, how do they feel? All right, so my last one is going to be branching quest lines, and this is something that was really prominent in Skyrim. This is when you start a quest from a quest giver. They may ask you to go to this particular person, let's say a fort, and while you're in the fort, you decide, I'm going to go ahead and look around, kind of discover some things, and you find a ring with a note. And that note tells you you need to take this ring to a merchant in a settlement that you have yet to discover. This is the type of discovery that has always excited me because I felt like I was rewarded for exploring the area that I was sent to. This applies the other way around as well. So like in Skyrim, I could get a mission from a quest giver inside of a town that sends me to a cave that's infested with vampires. I kill everyone and then I find a weapon.
Ooh, piece of candy.
And finding that weapon kickstarts a quest that is actually in the middle of the quest instead of the beginning of the quest. And that was always really fun. So when I'm talking to friends and I'm like, oh yeah, I did this particular quest, and I'm like, I did too. And I was like, yeah, I found it in a vampire cave. And they're like, wait, we started this at a town way back here. But we both got to do the quest. In most games, you can only get the quest via the quest giver. This has always been a unique aspect of Bethesda Studios games, and I want to see more of that in Starfield.
And I think that's what makes these games feel so good for role-playing, is that it's not a go here, do this. It is very much, as you discover, you unlock things. And that's always been a staple for Bethesda.
Yes, it has.
Alright folks, but that wraps up this video. So again, if you enjoy Starfield content, and if you enjoy our content in general, go ahead and like and subscribe, and join us every Friday morning. We'll be there, so you be there.